and welcome to the Herondale Boy Support Group. I'm Allie.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Ginny.
And we're here to help.
Oh, good.
This week,
Sorry.
we've got...
Yeah, we are.
Yes, we are here to help. This week, we're discussing Clockwork Prince Part 2. The second part of the first half of this book. To assign many words to it. Chapters 7 through 11. If you have not read Clockwork Prince and you're intending to, and you're one of those people who cares a lot about spoilers, this is not the podcast for you. Read it, come back. Or if you've read it and just want to experience it all again, the magic, then welcome. Or if you're just here for vibes, then welcome as well. So, yeah, either way, here we are. How's everyone been? It's been a minute.
I know. We missed the last time.
We did.
Last, and then we're supposed to have makeup, and then we missed that too.
I know.
Yeah, life happens like that, you know. It's crazy. We tried.
You guys had a life. I didn't.
We tried.
Yeah.
Well, that's all
it
right.
Happens. It's fine.
It does. You know, we went abroad, overseas.
We did.
To London itself.
London
and Paris.
itself. It was so much fun.
It was so much
but
fun.
basically
If you
the first
are
time.
If you're following us on Instagram, we have a couple pictures up there from.
We do.
And
there are more to come.
Absolutely.
From book locations.
Ginny, you might have seen Ginny at Blackfriars Bridge.
Yes.
Yeah, we went. It was so windy.
It was so windy. We have a behind-the-scenes video that we'll post after this podcast, but
I don't remember seeing this. I'll have to look for it.
It's in the drive.
I'll look for it later.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
Oh, there was so much wind, and then we were trying to get the books out of our backpacks, and I had 3 different book jackets, and I was like, and
this is also our first day in London, so we're just wandering around, figuring out where everything is, and
meanwhile, when you guys were in London, I was still here. Same.
Yeah. That's all right. Holding down the fort.
That's fine. Listen, home is important.
That's one way to put it.
I mean, you read the chapters and probably digest the chapters. Allie read them on a plane.
I did read them on a plane.
And then I read
fully
part of mine
prepared.
on a plane.
I was prepared. We were just really tired when we came back.
No, I know.
Ginny lost a day, and she was like, crap, I thought I'd read all of them, but I'm missing one, and
I think, it
was a whole thing.
It's fine.
She was like, tomorrow's Saturday, right? And I was like, no, tomorrow's Sunday. And she was like, crap.
It's like, no, yeah.
Time differences will do that to you.
I think the flight being delayed so much that...
Ooh, yeah.
If we had stayed with my parents, I probably, we would have gotten home earlier, therefore, so, there was all these things that,
we were literally traveling in a wake for 24 hours.
Afternoon, if we had gotten home by our home in the afternoon, I would have read
I was getting the updates, and I was like, oof, my friends, I am so sorry.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was
so
at
rough.
Least
going over there was not
going
a problem
over there was
all.
great.
Yeah.
We literally landed at 8 something in the morning, and we were at our hotel, and the room was ready by 9, so we went away and did things. Just went off and...
We did. Went off on our own, and, we checked in with our tour director. We were on a group tour, but it didn't feel like we were on a group tour for a while.
Oh, yeah. Because we didn't have, we had tickets to this really cool event, this interactive play thing called The Burnt City by Punch Drunk. They have something in New York, too. They do, yeah. These interactive things.
Sleep No More. Yeah. So, look it up, yeah.
It's really
cool.
I'm
literally doing that right now.
Yeah, for real. It was a neat experience. But we had tickets to that, because we took a gamble. We knew that there's, a welcome dinner when you go on these group tours, where everyone can, meet each other. We were like, it's not gonna be later than 5:30. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then it was group dinner is at 7:30. And we were like, well, fuck.
Oh.
It's I guess we're going to the Burnt City anyway.
Yeah. No, we already got tickets for this thing. It's not and it was something. It's unique. It's not. We had talked about going to a West End show, to go because West End and Broadway and all this stuff.
I wish you guys could have.
But when we waited out, it was the Burnt City thing was really unique and different and stuff. And West End, well, it's cool. A lot of those shows do play in the States, and some of them are ones we've seen already, and some of them are ones that we know are gonna come around anyways too.
Oh yeah, we like walked by the West End too, so like we saw.
We did. We waved at it, took
We were
pictures.
Like, hi.
Yeah.
The Burn City was absolutely worth it. It was a good time. But yeah, I took the book around on that first day, just running around trying to find all these locations, and got some really.
There's a backpack and a book in the backpack.
Yep.
It's fine. Don't mind. Yeah, like we had these little backpacks or whatever, and there was like not that much of value in it. There was like a whole bit of snacks, and then just like some medicine, but I probably didn't have to carry on this whole backpack except for the fact that, like I had a book,
Exactly.
And then one of the days it was raining, as it does in London, right?
As it does.
And we were trying to take pictures, and we're like, quick, take pictures before it rains too much.
Exactly.
Like, quick, get the book out, get the phone, get the camera,
And then it didn't actually rain
is what it was. Right.
You guys were great.
Yeah. That was Hyde Park actually, where we were like, quick, we gotta take pictures. We did not see any ducks.
Pictures were wonderful.
There were no ducks.
You will see them sporadically throughout on the Instagram, because we're not posting them all at once.
Yeah.
But it was a great
there were no ducks, unfortunately, because we could not get to like a water area.
Hyde Park is fucking huge.
It is massive. Yeah.
Literally, I can find ducks here and be like, hello.
Oh yeah,
I think I did.
Definitely...
I sent you guys pictures.
There's no shortage of ducks out in the world.
No, there is no shortage of ducks in the world.
But I think I did send you guys pictures, and I was like, don't tell the Herondales.
Oh yeah. We were looking for the Hyde Park
we
ducks,
just thought it'd be funny to find the Hyde Park ducks if we could, but the water was like not
as you were.
Pretty not pretty close.
I have some pictures from Turtle Pond, and I think there were some ducks there. So
nice.
Turtle Pond, cute.
Anyway,
absolutely.
Yeah. It was
we had a great trip. We're back, but then I got a cold.
We are back
afterwards.
Oh yeah.
So our makeup.
That's why we also missed our makeup.
Yep. But I feel like a little bit better. Excuse the occasional sniffs or coughs. That's what happens when you travel, when you're on long plane rides with all this recycled air, and when you go to all these places where you haven't, like, your immune system's not inoculated to all the local strains. But it was worth it. We had a great time. And now we're back to talk about Clockwork Prince. Finally.
Yeah.
So,
finally.
Ginny, why don't you refresh us on what happened over the course of
the so I've got my summary. It is on my phone, and I don't think it's as long as I think it is, actually, but strap in a little bit. Kind of long story short, I would say that, and I've said this to both of you a little bit, that like this is the middle of the middle book, so plot wise or like action wise, there's actually not a lot of action happening, but there is a lot of like character development happening. We're learning a lot of information.
Right. Yeah, Allie's favorite chapters in this chunk.
Yeah.
I also I love a good second book, and I love character development. I love the beach episode, the anime trope of, like, there's no reason for anyone to be going to the beach, but for whatever reason in anime, they always have a beach episode that has nothing to do with the rest of the plot.
You're so strong, Chad.
I love a good, it's the vibe of the beach episode, where it's like nothing's happening, really, except for the characters are having a good time and they're interacting, and that's the shit I live for. Always a beach episode. So I'm ready to discuss my favorite chapters.
Okay,
which is nothing substantial happens.
Which gives us all different perspectives, because like I generally find that I am not a second book person, because, and it's not that I don't like character development. I do like character development, but when I feel like nothing is happening, like for a long time, I get antsy, I think, is what's in my brain. Maybe I don't know why, but yeah, I'm not a filler book type of person. I normally gravitate towards like first and third books, and that's just how I am.
It's funny, I think when I was asking you guys about your favorite books in the trilogies, plural, I think my favorite was the second book. Ginny's favorite was
a first,
and mine was the last. Third.
No, mine was the last because it was Heavenly Fire, which is technically number 6.
Oh, okay.
Which is technically number 6 of, like, the second trilogy. It's like, it's 6 books,
you
but it's
separate them. I don't. I don't separate them.
But anyway.
I kind of do either. Yeah, I do kind of both. But last book regardless. And I was surprised that mine was a first book, because I think in my brain I think that I gravitate towards last books more, but maybe I don't.
Maybe that is false.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely like
lying
mine
to
was
us.
the first book here. Anyways, all that aside, to say that there's going to be a lot of information here, but not a lot of like plot action. So we kind of opened up where we've got Will doing this Will side plot thing where Will is going to Magnus for help, right?
Yes.
So that's where we kind of open up. Will rushes in to meet Magnus again. He barges in like he owns Camille's place, as Will does.
As Will does.
And Magnus,
I think that's just a Will Herondale. That's a Herondale thing, honestly.
Yeah,
Probably.
yeah, just barging in, like, yeah. And anyways, Magnus was kind of in the dark on the whole situation this whole time. Like, Will has not given him much detail at all about why he's looking for a demon and what, and none of this. So we finally learned about Will's past, and about his curse. Yeah.
The curse.
The curse. Yeah.
Like gasp.
Exactly. So it's very dramatic. It's not as dramatic in that scene, honestly, with Magnus, but we learned that about Will's curse, which someone probably could explain it better than I did. It basically just like Will can't love anybody, or else they die.
Kind of. We'll get into it
because
anyone that comes to love Will suffer a horrible fate.
That's true, right?
Yes.
And we see that actually happened.
It did.
So we saw, I think he told Magnus in that part, about what happened to his older sister. Ella. Mm-hmm. She is no longer. Yeah. They opened
Ella,
the
unfortunately is gone.
His sister did die.
He's just unfortunately deceased. Yeah. So at age 12, Will opens this Pyxis that his father had kept. Just maybe as like a keepsake for their time as Shadowhunters. We don't know why he has this. He has it. And then this demon comes forth and threatens him. And Will's older sister Ella, she comes in to the rescue, being the older sister and everything. And then the demon says that he'll place a curse on anyone who loves Will, whether it be days, weeks, who knows how long it'll take, but they will eventually die. And it starts with his sister. And the next day, they think everything's okay. Parents come home, everything's fine at first, but then the next day she becomes ill, and then she like dies. And then Will's like, it's real. And then now he's like, the curse is real, and now he just pushes everybody away for their own safety.
At which point he runs away to the Institute. And
right.
Abandons his family to save them. As best as he understands as a kid, so.
That is Will's dramatic backstory. Yeah. So we finally learned from Will's own mouth what has happened here. Yeah. And then so poor old soul and long-lived Magnus is like sharing this wisdom. He's like, Will, like, you might feel these things right now, but you're young, this and that. And Will's just like, I want to solve the problem right now. as teenagers be. All these feelings are very big and important, and they need to be solved right now. Mm-hmm. And I cannot see past these moments right now.
Very short.
So there's no perspective.
Yeah.
Which is it's because
totally
the life experience is so small.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly, but
and also Shadowhunters tend to not live super long lives.
That is true.
That's true. They do tend to die young. Anyways, Will's like, well, now I want to go into the demon realm. I'm
gonna go get him. If you can't leave it to me, I'm gonna do it myself.
William Herondale.
Exactly.
If I had a nickel for every Herondale that sent themselves to the demon world, I would have a few nickels.
I would have a couple
isn't
nickels.
A lot, but it's weird that it happened more than once.
Exactly.
It is. And Magnus is like, no, that this is not a good idea. And Will's just like, humph, and storms out. After saying some hurtful words. Yeah.
Again, as Herondales do.
As Will does. Yeah, pretty much. So at the end,
this is why we have a Herondale Boy Support Group.
This is why we're here.
This is it, yeah. But at the end, everyone's kind of worried about Will's disappearance, but like they also have to carry on with what's going on. So they're like, also like Will does this, he comes back, right?
He'll be
back. It's fine.
He'll be fine. He'll come back. He does this sometimes. So then they're like, okay, let's see what we can do. And then Tessa changes into Starkweather to see if she can get more information. So she does see some memories of Mortmain's family, but nothing connected to Will. Which, by the way, having gone to Paris and stuff, I learned that we're saying Mortmain the American way, and
we are definitely
not correctly, but we're gonna keep saying it.
Person, what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's a moment where it says that it's a French name. I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And yes, speaking
Regale
a limited
us with
amount
your
of French,
French.
I was
How
like,
is it properly pronounced, Ginny?
Mormont. So, Mormont is how it's pronounced.
I'm still gonna do Mortmain. Okay.
We have been calling him Mortmain this whole time. We're gonna stick with it. So but I was like, oh. Anyways, that side note.
The more you know.
Exactly. The more you know. They don't actually know that much more after this change thing, to be honest. But then Sophie and Tessa go train with the Lightwoods again, and Jessamine is like notably skipping out. Like she skipped out the first time, I think, but it's like how does she keep skipping out every time?
Oh,
and
she
does.
My girl Jessie.
She does. Yeah. But Gideon is being pretty patient and even admirable of Sophie, so something is starting to happen there. Ooh. And then Gabriel is impatient with Tessa, which is much different than he usually is. He's normally actually a good teacher. And Tessa notes this, but he's being really weird that day, and then Gideon just kind of rushes off and like, oh, our home life is a little tense right now because of our father, and then we don't learn more about that at that moment. But then we have Ragnarfell, who is another warlock. I don't think is he the high warlock at this time? Question mark.
I don't know.
I'm not sure either. But
he's
Ragnarfell
a warlock of importance.
Is I think that might be.
He's important.
Yeah.
And then that's
he might be the high warlock, which is why Charlotte.
Right.
Yeah. Which is why Charlotte goes to him. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, she's like, hey, any more information, maybe?
I think you're right, because I just quickly looked up his name, and he is noted as a high warlock of London.
Okay, awesome. That's what I thought.
Great, glad to clear that
makes
up.
sense.
Cool.
Yeah,
moving on.
Warlock Ragnarfell. Woo,
woo.
Moving on.
Moving on. So yeah, Charlotte goes to him and is like, hey, has him come to the institute, and it's like, hey, we need some more information. And then Ragnarfell has kind of been keeping an eye on Will's family, just to like, because of Will's request was just like, let me know if anyone has died. His one request about keeping up with his family, like even though he cut ties, he's just like, let me know if anyone dies. And Ragnar he felt he doesn't know a lot, but he's like, I'll go investigate if you like pay me well. And Charlotte's like, all right.
For Will.
So he goes to actually see what's going on with Will's family. And then we have Tessa, who gets a letter from Magnus, who's actually concerned for Will. He's like, dear Tessa, I am concerned about Will. This is serious this time. Right? Like
this is different. Your buddy's got issues.
Yeah. That's exactly what the letter says.
Don't tell Charlotte.
It's serious this time. Yeah. Magnus, or MD, Magnus Bane. Yeah. So he notices that Will's not being normal Will, and he might be possibly like a danger to himself, is kind of the idea. And Magnus has definitely picked up on the idea that Tessa is able to get through to him. So that's why he's sending her this letter. Tessa shares this letter with Jem, and Jem, she has started having like strange feelings for. She didn't, they just kind of started coming out of nowhere. The more time she's just like hanging out with Jem, and Will's off away and doing Will things. She is inevitably become closer with Jem just by like nature of being at the institute more, etc., etc. And now she's having like weird feelings about him. Anyways, they go and search for like clues about where Will might have gone in his room, and then they go find him in not an opium den, but it's a one of like demon drugs and fairy powders. So it's the demon equivalent of an opium den. And then Will has taken these many drugs and has made a mess of himself, of course, deliriously trying to escape his problems. So Jem is actually really upset by this display. He gets really angry and he punches Will in the face.
Well deserved, honestly. Good for Jem.
Well deserved.
I was gonna say the same.
Yeah.
Somebody needed to punch him in the face.
Really angered by this, seeing, the person that's closest to him, in his words, like, toy with what has destroyed my life.
Because Will is high on the drug that is slowly killing Jem.
Yeah, it's a thing. We'll get into that. There's a lot of conversations. Yeah, there's a lot of conversations that come from that between Will and Jem, between Tessa and each of them. There's a lot that comes from there. And so, he punches Will, and then they drag his ass back to the Institute, of course. Yep. And then Jem and Tessa have this emotionally and physically intense moment that night. Ooh, things are getting real steamy. They kiss.
Shippers. Not Wessa. Jessa.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is a Jessa moment.
I said Wessa and I meant Jessa.
Yeah, this is a Jessa moment. It gets very steamy, and they're kissing, and then it's like touching and going further, and then
and buttons are coming undone, and
exactly. Oh, it is heating up.
Hence the title of the stream.
Jem got to second base. I'm just saying.
Oh,
over the close.
Yeah,
hence the title of the stream.
It is getting hot in here. Yes. But then, of course, Tessa knocks over the box of the demon powder, and it just falls all over the floor, and the moment is ruined. And Jem is like, please leave me alone so that I can deal with this and not be embarrassed about it. And Tessa's like, noted, got it, okay, and goes to bed having really conflicting feelings that night about Will or Jem.
Will or Jem. Oh,
yeah. Love triangle.
Both of these attractive young men. Dashing in their good looks.
Yeah, the love triangle is in full effect now, for sure. And then the next morning, Will returns to his normal shenanigans. I bet you were wondering where I was. Nobody was wondering. I was in an opium den. No one cared.
Jem's still mad.
Yeah, and then Will's like, exactly. And then everyone's just like, okay. And Will's like, well.
This isn't normal behavior for you?
Yeah. Did you know that the werewolves are buying up all of the Yin Fen? And then Charlotte's finally like, oh, that is actually concerning.
That is actually a problem. Thanks for letting us know.
Oh, okay. Will's
Thanks for the intel.
Yeah. Yeah. Charlotte's like, all right, well, that could be a problem if the werewolves are also involved with Mortmain. We know that the vampires were. This could be bad. I will contact the leader of the pack of werewolves. Noted. And then what Charlotte goes off to do that. We're gonna meet the werewolf soon. But then the Lightwood brothers come back over to do more training. As they do, we learn more about their drama here.
Drama.
With Will, their drama with Will, of course, but also their drama with Charlotte, which is really important. Mm-hmm. So according to Gabriel, Charlotte's father discovered that Silas Lightwood, Gabriel and Gideon's uncle, was in love with his parabatai, which is something we know is forbidden, strictly forbidden by the laws of the Shadowhunters here. And they, but apparently, Charlotte's father snitched on Lightwood.
What a snitch.
And snitched onto the clave. And it was so embarrassing, so shameful, and Silas took his own life because of that. And that's just left this stain on the Lightwoods' relationship with Charlotte.
Or with overall. Fairchilds overall.
With the Fairchilds overall, and Charlotte being the head of the Institute right now. Yeah, the Fairchild right now.
They got bad
blood.
That
is affecting. Yeah, they do got the bad blood. Band-Aids can't fix bullet holes.
Mad love.
Yeah.
For anybody listening.
The face palm.
Your head immediately went into my hand. Allie really just did that.
Yeah. Your resident Swiftie and your converted Swiftie strike again.
Listen, I need to establish my status as a newly converted
It's fine.
Swiftie.
I'll establish my musical theater nerd self later.
Yeah. And Gabriel kind of prattles on, and it's just like, as Gabriel does. My father, your father, yeah. And then Sophie slaps him.
Get it,
at
Sophie.
The end of that. Is also deserved. The two people who do deserve to get hit in the face got hit in the face in these charts, man. They did. It's satisfying. And Gideon's actually like, huh, Nice job too. He's like,
good form.
That was pretty good. Good form, yeah.
That was a well-placed
Gabriel's
slap.
embarrassed. Yeah, Gabriel's embarrassed. He runs to go pout and lick his wounds and run off with the carriage and whatnot. So, as he does too. And then we do meet Wolsey Scott, the head of the Werewolf London pack. And where Wolsey is a very interesting character. He seems pretty unconcerned in general about what's going on.
Very laissez-faire.
Yeah, he is very laissez-faire. He's just like, no, we're not in league with that guy because, the vampires were in league with him. We're definitely not because we don't like the vampires anyways. We're not mad, to be honest, that they are, like, gone right now. So, yeah.
Vampires out here doing their best to mind their own business.
Yeah, the werewolves are just doing werewolf things.
And is completely unconcerned with the werewolves buying up the infant.
Yep.
He's like, well, they're not part of my pack, so that doesn't sound like my problem.
Definition of, that sounds like a you problem. Or as our friend likes to say, that sounds like an issue, not an ish-me.
Yep.
Yeah.
We do have a friend that says that a lot. It's good. It's good. So yeah, not much comes from that conversation with Wolsey Scott. He goes away. But we do get a letter from Ragnar Fell to Charlotte. He's discovered stuff about the Herondales a little bit. He learns that they're pretty isolated in Ravenscar Manor. And people, the general assumption in the community is that they kind of keep to themselves. They all know that they had a kid who a child who died, and that the father has a gambling and drinking problem.
Now,
and supposedly, yes, and supposedly, he squandered all their money and stuff, and that's why they lost their home in Wales. And now they've moved to this house that is owned by Mortmain, who, they know this, he's just like this wealthy businessman, and they're just like, oh yeah, this family is like the custodial family just taking care of this house, basically, is the assumption among the community. And Ragnar does have a direct interaction with Cecily, because, Cecily is smart and sees him and is like, why are you spying on us? And then Ragnar Fell's like,
ready to fight.
Yeah. Although she seems interesting, he notes that she seems a little hopeful, actually, less accusatory, and she wants to know about Will. And
I'm pretty sure she straight up asks Ragnar about Will.
She does. Yeah. She does straight up ask about Will. And then he assures her that that he's fine. And so we just learn a little bit about that, what's happening over there. And Charlotte, Charlotte's reading this letter. It's really heartbreaking for her on her end, because she really does care about Will, and she has been invested in this family and this story for many years now. So it's heartbreaking to her. She does destroy the letter before Jem enters the room to ask about the truth of Gabriel's story, about the families and stuff. And Charlotte sees it a different way. It's like, no, that's not what happened. No. But they don't have a lot of time to dwell on that. So, we have more emotional conversations with Will. We got a parabatai moment. We got Jem and Will having a really deep conversation, which we will delve into in depth. But also importantly, we see Sophie revealing this invitation that she found in Jessamyn's coat, which, Jessamyn has been sneaking around this whole time in the background. We have learned very little about her throughout most of this book, actually. We just got glimpses of her,
goodness.
Yeah, dressing like a boy, sneaking out at night.
My heart is already breaking.
Yeah. So finally, Sophie catches and finds this invitation in her coat pocket, and it details this masquerade ball hosted by none other than Benedict Lightwood. And then there's a little missive in there from one NG. Nathaniel Gray.
I wonder who that could be.
Nathaniel Gray. He's still here.
Why? Yep. Why is he still here? Look.
Why is he still here? And then Jesse did catch Sophie with this note, but then Sophie's like, wha-boom, and knocks her out. that training is kicking in. Yeah, just knocks her out. It's like, oh no, what have I done? Yeah.
Sophie out here, panics. She punched Gabriel, and she gained some confidence there. And she was like, what if I just did it again?
That's exactly what happened. And then she has immediate regrets, panic. Oh no, I just did a thing. And so she runs to Tessa. She's like, help, I just did this thing.
And Tessa's like, it's fine,
Tessa's
probably.
Like, okay, well, we need to tell Charlotte. Like, no, we can't tell Charlotte, because you can never tell the adults in YA books. You can't tell the adults what's happening.
The adults can never know.
no. And so they're like, okay, well, who else do we tell? Okay, well, we can't tell Jem because like Sophie still has like kind of feelings for Jem, and it's like I don't want to. This is embarrassing. This is really embarrassing. I don't want to get Jem involved. And Tessa's like, okay, well then our only option is Will. Sophie's like, fine. And so then they get Will involved, and Will's like, you did this? Nice. Good job. Respect.
Will's so amused by this whole thing.
Yeah, he's so amused. And then Sophie's just like, oh, I've done a bad thing. And it's decided that Will and Tessa are once again gonna go to a party and masquerade, do the change thing
together
to get some intel. Familiar, yeah. So Tessa's gonna change into Jessie, and Will is gonna accompany her again to this party so they can gather intel. Seems pretty familiar, right? It's funny. Tessa makes some comment about that too. It's like that went real well last time, and yeah, we're gonna try that again. So that's kind of where we left it off. We'll see how that goes next time.
For not a lot of plot, there was a lot to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a lot of like plot, but there's a lot of
character
conversations and info. Yeah, there is.
I want to start this off by saying, as I told Allie, I got beef with Magnus Bane.
Oh.
Beef? He is dog-earing the pages of his book.
So we were on the airplane. Were we in the airplane or in one of the hotels? And I looked over and I watched Ginny dog-ear the corner of one of her books.
Ginny!
And I was like, Ginny!
I got beef with you.
Listen, I used to not be, but I also like, what is it doing? You know, like, yeah.
You're folding the page.
How could you? How could you?
I used to do it as a kid. I don't do it anymore as an adult. But
like my thing is, I'm like, it's not really like it's not harming the book. Like unless you're folding the page over and over and over and over.
It's not preserving the pristineness.
There's a joy.
Not
There's
a
a beauty
single
in well-loved
dog-ear.
books, you know.
There is a beauty in
well-loved books.
Yeah, there's a picture like really old on our Instagram of one particular book, The Wizard Heir, by Cinda Williams Shyma, which is one of my favorite books. I think it maybe made it to the top of my top 5 when we did that ages ago.
I think so.
But yeah, that book, it was always in my backpack, and I was always loaning it to friends, and so like that book has so much wear and tear, and has been seen so much just because of like I've loved it that much, and I've read it that many times, and I've shared it with that many people, and now it's signed, which is really cool. But there absolutely is a beauty in well-loved books. But
yeah, I'm kind of torn because I keep my books in really good condition for the most part, but at the same time, I'm like, it's kind of cool if there's some that have something to show for it that I was involved in them, or you know, if you write notes in the margins, or if you dog-ear your pages, etc. I'm like, there's something in my brain. There's also something to be shown for that too. So, yeah,
exactly. I
don't know. I used to have a problem with dog-earing. Now I don't really care that much. I'm like, sometimes you don't got a bookmark. All right.
I was using my boarding pass, I think, at the same time for the flight.
I
got the free one.
Nice. I bought a fun one in Paris at the Cluny Museum. The Cluny Museum is a Middle Ages museum that's in a castle, like a straight up medieval castle. And they have like a lot of like tapestries. They're known for the Maiden and Unicorn tapestries, which are massive and insane, but that's like the big thing that's housed there. And they had a little bookmark of like one of the little foxes that was in the tapestry. So I have that one.
Wait a second. Look who just popped into the chat.
Wait a second. We have an MG. Hi, MG.
Hi, MG.
Hello.
Nice to see you. Anyway.
Nice to see you. Welcome to the Herondale Boy Support Group. Different content matter, but yeah.
MG is a good friend of us.
Good friend. Happy to have some friend support.
Yes.
But yeah, Magnus and Ginny are both on the same level of beef with Melanie now. As they both dog ear books.
Friends, Ginny. We are no longer friends.
All right. Listen, my argument that is, if Magnus Bane can do it, then I should be allowed to do it.
That is an excellent argument.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
I hate to say, I Melanie, that makes sense.
I mean, that's
Melanie, you might
a good counter argument, but like from Magnus though, yeah, I don't know.
But Magnus does establish like the precedent of like being a generally cool dude, you know.
Exactly.
Magnus Bane is probably objectively the best character in all these books. I mean, if we're being honest with ourselves. Like, if there's somebody you want to be friends with, it's probably Magnus.
Probably. He is known to throw some great parties.
That too.
Um,
and he'll get you out of the bind.
From one. Yeah, he's only banned from one country.
Exactly. He's only banned from Peru. You can go everywhere else. Okay. You don't need to see Peru. It's fine. What's there in Peru anyway?
I didn't expect that to go off on such a tangent, but okay.
Listen, I was just like, this is connected. I was like, I saw this.
That's what it's here. That's what we're here for.
Exactly.
Tangents.
Also, when Will is talking to Magnus about like everything, he finally admits that he loves Tessa, and I'm just like, as if we didn't already know that.
Just like, and in other news, the sky is blue.
Everybody else knew. Yeah.
I don't know. Will just kind of said and did some things in these early chapters that were like rip my heart out. That he was like, he lets Jem care for him because Jem's already dying, and I'm like, rip my heart out. Why don't you?
He's like, he has that line where he's like, maybe it'll make it like gentler, or it'll bring some peace, or like something like that, and it's just like, oh, it hurts. And then we also, because Will asked Jem to be his parabatai. And Will initiated that, and Jem was like, no, you deserve someone who's going to live, and you deserve someone better. And Will was like, Will challenged him to something, I forget what it was, specifically.
I think it was a duel, a fight.
Yeah, I think so too.
It was a duel, but Jem only said yes because he thought that Will was going to be terrible at it, but Will must have been practicing when he wasn't paying attention, because Will won. And then, so that's how that happened.
Like 9 seconds or something. Like it was some...
It was like a definitive victory.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
There's
just a lot I was going to say there's just in general a lot to talk about regarding Will and his family, the Herondales in general.
There is. So we now know that the Herondales is made up of his mom, his dad. He had an older sister, Ella, who has since passed in this incident, defending him. Then there is Will, who is his middle child, and then we have Cecily, who is his younger sister. And we see Cecily... Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We see Cecily is bold, and she has a lot of these same Herondale traits. We see...
Oh, she does.
She's got that Herondale, you know? And we see that, you know, Will leaving has affected her, and it's something that she continues to think about. As evidenced by, like, the first time she sees somebody, like, watching her family, she's like, have you seen my brother? Like... This is a thing that's haunted them, and obviously it's, like, haunted his father, because we see, he's taken up gambling, and taken up all these vices to sort of forget about it, is what's implied, is that that was the cause of why all this happened. And
I don't know if I'm just remembering things, but the whole, like, I wrote in my notes that I was like, they lost their house because of the gambling, and, like, it just kind of sounded a little bit sus to me, like, I said, why does it feel like Mortmain had something to do with it?
You know, that is how Mortmain found Nate.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely sus, so...
It is definitely sus.
I actually don't think I remember this whole plot line, but...
It could just be, like, you know, a spiral after Ella's death, but I don't know, it kind of felt like maybe it's both.
I think it could be both, yeah.
Right.
And speaking of Ella, even though she's... you know, dead, we learn a lot about her, who she kind of was as a person. Like, it's important to keep in mind that, like,
she was a Herondale. They're all Herondales, goddammit.
It's important to keep in mind that Will and his sisters were not raised as Shadowhunters. They did not know. They didn't know how to fight, nothing, blah, blah, blah. So for Ella to do what she did and take a sword and, like, defend Will and fight him off or whatever,
she saw her little brother scared and grabbed a sword and stood in front of him to defend him from this demon who was massive and terrifying and just...
Yeah, so I pulled a quote from it that kind of, I think, describes Ella really well, or, like, what we know about her. Magnus felt a strange stirring of both pity and liking for the girl, brought up to know nothing about demons, their summoning, or their banishment, yet standing her ground regardless.
Exactly. Yeah, no, big Herondale energy. B-A-G.
Oh, yeah. yeah.
B-A-G?
B-H-E.
B-H-E.
I thought you said, I did not know what you said, and I was like, that's not what that stands for. It's like, that's not the initials of that.
Also B-D-E. but unrelated to the BHE. She's got both.
Yeah. She does have, yeah. Big Herondale energy is a thing.
We could, I mean, I feel like we've said everything we can about the Herondales for now.
Yeah,
I can always talk more about the Herondales. Welcome to the
we
podcast
can,
of the
but,
Herondale
like,
Support Group.
It's true.
Again, I'll say it again. Just because we can doesn't mean we should.
There were some quotes I wrote down, like, actually early on about the whole Magnus and Will situation of just, like, how people perceive Will, too. So, like, I wrote down this quote, like, Charlotte says, like, when Will truly wants something, when he feels something, he can break your heart. And I was like...
Everybody can see through Will's bullshit.
Yeah.
Or but no, they don't tell him because it's better to do that for him.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Except for Jesse, who does not give a fuck.
Except for Jesse.
Well,
who cannot give us a
except for Jesse.
And I wrote this down. I was like, look, I'm a Jesse stan, a Jesse apologist, but I cannot defend what she says about Will, about not being sad about his family and that he was faking it. I was like, I can't defend that.
Nah, fuck right off with that.
Yeah.
Y'all know I'm a Jesse apologist, so for me to say
you
that.
are.
The only people who think that Will is unlovable are Will and Jesse.
Yeah. And the ducks.
And the ducks.
They want to eat him. It's fine.
Maybe Tessa a little bit too, but we'll get
Tessa
there.
sometimes.
Tessa does
when
not
she's
think
angry,
that he's unlovable.
Oh, right. She's just
mad at
sometimes.
It's a different feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wants to love him desperately, and she's frustrated that he won't let her.
Yeah.
Is the vibe there.
Yeah, and Magnus's lines hit me a lot as an adult looking back on this, because he's like giving out this like really sound advice, like from somebody who's been there and who's been in love before, someone who has lived before. And he says something like, something where he's like, you're in love and you think that's all there is to the world, but the world's bigger than you and your life is not yours to throw away. And Will's just like,
but I know everything because I'm nearly 18 years old.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. And he's like, and like, who said we were owed happiness is a line there too. And it's just like, yeah, Magnus has lived all this life and knows all these things, and it's that perspective thing, and Will does not have this perspective. And I was just like, as an adult looking back on like a book that is mostly about teenagers, it resonated. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
There's definitely, we've mentioned a few times how there's a lot to be said for reading these as an adult and having that perspective. And you're finding like these little moments where like the adults in this series are generally good, which is not the case for all young adult series. Like we have good adults who are genuinely looking out for the teens. Exactly.
Magnus to an extent.
Exactly. It's just that the teens can't acknowledge that because where they're at. Like,
that would go against being a teenager.
Exactly.
It does. You can't get the adults involved in anything. They don't know, they can't be, we have to deal with this on our own. These are our own problems and we're going to solve them. And
which is really hilarious in the Last Hours trilogy because know their parents so well and you're just like, seriously guys, you really think that your parents didn't get up to some shit? But we'll have a lot to talk about in that one too. Oh gosh.
Do you guys have anything you want to bring up or do you want me to keep going?
I was just gonna say, like, speaking of annoying teenagers, the Lightwoods. But
the Lightwoods.
Okay, we're kind of gonna go into the Lightwoods, so go for it.
The Lightwoods. I was just gonna say Gabriel, out here being Gabriel again, not wholly dissimilar from Will. Like, just going on his own bullshit.
Will has previously said that Gideon is worse than Gabriel, and we still have yet to see it. In fact, we have seen Gideon be iconic.
Gideon's great. Gideon has grown over the course of his travel year in a way that's surprising to seems surprising to like the London crew. Even Gabriel seems like miffed by this growth and development that Gideon has experienced. He's like, because Gabriel will be like, I'm angry. Why aren't you angry? And Gideon's just like, our dad's not perfect. And Gabriel's like, and
what the? Okay, that was a sound. I was gonna say, with him growing over the year and now this training, Gideon's starting to fall for Sophie.
Yeah, we're seeing that. Yeah, they
And
have this moment.
I don't know what their ship name is, but I don't think there's an official one, so I'm
I don't
using.
know either.
I looked it up, and there's like two options. There's Sidian or Sophidian, and I'm going with Sophidian because I like that better.
Sure.
They're both terrible.
But Sophidian crumbs.
There's Sophidian crumbs happening. There's this moment where where they're talking. Gideon's reflecting too about how his attitude when he first started doing this was just like, oh, I have to train these two girls who blah 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 blah. But then after meeting and actually getting to know them, now he's excited to go to training, and it's the thing he's actually looking forward to, because he wasn't really looking forward to coming back to London and all this stuff. And yeah, so there's definitely been a shift in his.
Speaking of I just looked at my notes and I saw this, and we were talking earlier about the French pronunciation of Mortmain's last name, and Jesse is the one who translates that his name literally means hand of death, and I was like, okay, Jesse, I see your French skills, and that should have clued me into the fact that that name was not,
yeah.
When it
is very dramatic.
I've definitely looked at it and like acknowledged that it's French, but like I know two phrases in French, and one of them is spicy. So
why does that track for Allie? Tell me why that tracks for Allie.
One of them is from Burlesque. So.
Exactly. Or no, it's from Moulin Rouge.
Moulin Rouge, obviously. Yeah.
I love Moulin Rouge. Tell me later.
Rouge, yeah.
But anyway.
So the song. Yeah, you should know
Lady Marmalade.
Yeah, yep.
Oh. Okay.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir?
Yes.
Will you come to bed with me tonight?
Once you said it with Lady Marmalade, I understood. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's just
I clocked that it was French, but I'm just like, it still means nothing to me. Because I'm an American, and they don't make us take foreign languages for longer than 2 years, so I'm only fluent in English. Which objectively is a bad thing, but here we are.
And
I'm a victim of the system.
Let's see. What do we have here? When Will sort of goes missing, blah, blah, and I just wrote in here, Bylos and Xanthos are back. Best horses.
We do love the horses. We are stands of the horses.
And did we ever mention, Allie, the names, the whole Minecraft and Stardew Valley, and how we named our horses?
Yes!
We did.
And Janine and I have also named another horse, Xanthos, in another instance where we needed a horse name. Those Balios is Balios, is not Bylos.
It is Balios,
actually. It's Balios.
Because Janine pointed that out to me the other day, and I was like, and I looked and I was like, God damn it.
I have it written down. I guess I just always read it as Bylos.
And so did I. And then I learned I was wrong, and I was upset.
But yeah, we basically created like a farm in Stardew Valley that we shared, and we were like, what's something that we have in common? And it was, so we named it Alicante Farm.
We did.
Yep. Anyway.
Anytime I have to name a horse in like a video game or something, I'm just like,
Eddie
Xanthos?
Well,
see, I will also go with Maximus from Tangled.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
Listen, we got some great horse names. We got some great names.
I can come up with horse names, but in general, when we are in the moment of, oh no, we don't have a horse name, it's like, well, Xanthos. Yeah.
Xanthos. I wanted to talk about how when Jem and Tessa go basically start looking for Will, they get to looking at the poorer side of London. And it's something that we haven't explored thus far. And, it's really drastically different when Tessa is used to. Even from being from America and not growing up with a lot of money, she was never poor, I guess you could say. Or at least to the fact that these people are. They say that the poor girls who work at the match factory are called chuckaways. They're dressed in rags and they're filthy, and the children are barefoot and dirty, versus the women and the men who have these fancy dresses and coats and top hats, and it's just a really interesting dichotomy.
It is interesting that we get a look at that dichotomy that exists within.
So I'm gonna bring up my musical theater nerd, because Jem talks about rich people taking tours with the poor districts, and he says they call it slumming. So you know what my mind immediately went to? There's something rich folks love more than going downtown and slumming it with a...
Oh, I thought of that too when I read that part.
So,
I mean, yeah,
as Allie...
Jimmy and I kind of had the realization where there wasn't a lot to do in, because we did a lot of, like, historical things. We saw, because there's something, being American and, like, being from Florida, especially Central Florida, which is a very, like, newly developed area, like, within the past, like, Central Florida specifically was a swamp until, like, maybe 100 years ago when they started, like, developing it and whatnot. So going to places that have just buildings older than our whole ass country is just, like, a wild experience.
Yeah.
And just, like, so learning about, like, and of course life back then is entirely different, so learning about the way that people spent time, questionable or otherwise, it's eye-opening. And then, yeah, there was definitely a theatrical aspect to gawking at the way that others lived, which is terrible and unfortunate.
And I think
but
Jem,
also not, like, wholly different
closed.
than huh?
I was gonna say, like, I think in the chapter Jem, like, pulls the curtain closed on, like, the poorer people, like, to keep it out kind of thing.
Yeah. And it's just, yeah. There's a lot of stuff there that is...
You can make a whole discussion out of it, but we'd be here forever.
We would be here forever.
Yeah. And
then we go and find Will in this
Will.
Den. And he's too high, and he's high and he's drunk.
I went to an opium den, says Will.
Something else I picked out was that he is nuzzling himself into Tessa's neck. And he's too drunk or too high or whatever it is to keep up the pretense of keeping her away. So I thought you could sort of look at that with the Aunt Harriet quote again of the not what they say but what they do.
I'm not sure I'd apply that quote to this situation.
I don't know.
No, I don't know. I just thought it was, it's
I
more
don't
just
think that drunk Will nuzzling into a Tessa who is obviously pissed and, like, not consenting, but also not feeling it, I don't think that's...
I guess. I think it was more just me picking up on the fact that he, like, was too gone to be keeping up the pretense kind of thing.
Right. He's not keeping up the physical pretense anymore.
Right.
I can agree with that.
But he gets punched in the face.
He does get punched in the face.
As we continue to move through this chapter. Is this the one that's your favorite chapter, Allie?
Fierce Midnight is my favorite chapter.
I don't have the chapter names along with the numbers. Which one?
That's when I think that's 8.
Number 9.
Is it 9? That's when they find Will and Jem gives him.
Then this is your favorite chapter, and I was like, I wrote in my notes, is this Allie's favorite chapter? I could see why.
Yeah. Listen, we love a steamy YA moment. So the thing about YA fiction when they're writing romance is that, like, the characters... So when you're writing adult romance, the characters can have sex whenever you want, right? Because it's adult romance, no one cares. But the thing is, in YA romance, there's so much tension and buildup because it's a YA romance. Like, you can't focus the relationship around that. So, like, there's just the pining and the tension is just delicious. And so the whole getting steamy and, like, getting intimate and are they gonna do it? And then smack, the drugs are on the floor. It's just so, it is so over the top and so just...
It is.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah. And you know that they can't because it's YA, because of the tropes, like, we can only go so far or, like, so many times, etc. So, like, we have to do something interrupted.
Exactly.
And the drugs,
I love me a good YA romance because they're always so over the top and just so... Yeah. There's so many intense emotions. It's just like, that's great.
It's always like, I don't know. It's so funny.
It's always at 110%. Like, there's... I love a good YA romance.
Do you want to go into what happens between... We talked about it a little bit in the summary, but Will and oh my god. Jem and Tessa.
Jessa, otherwise known as Jessa.
So it's interesting because, like,
Jem and
in the start, like in the start of this book, we have these moments where Tessa's like has these like feelings, and then she's like, "Huh, what? That's weird," or like, "That's weird," and it's like she's clocks it as like weird whenever she's having sort of emotion that's not just like friendly about Jem, or having a thought that's like, "Oh, I wonder how he feels," or "I wonder invested more," than she was in book one, say about Jem's, and she clocks these feelings as weird. So in so Jem is very much just like comes out of nowhere, feeling romance, and yeah,
On Tessa's anyway, because Jem has definitely been
yeah,
like,
right.
It's been pretty
being
obvious.
the best.
Mm-hmm.
Jem out here doing the most, and Tessa cannot be bothered.
We've been discussing throughout this podcast of whenever Tessa has a moment with Jem, she's usually always thinking about Will. And even in this moment, she is
even
still
in this
doing
moment, she's thinking about Will. I was so mad, man.
Yeah.
I was hoping. I was like, maybe she's not. I was like, maybe Fierce Midnight she's not, and she can let Jem have that moment. But nope.
It's kind so I start reading it, and like they kiss, and then in her brain Tessa's like, "Oh, it's different from when Will kissed her," like, and I was like, ah. But I understand.
I will give
like,
Tessa slack in that, like, just for that
YA,
one piece of like
and just
thinking
like,
it's different. That I will give her slack for.
yeah, that's why I was like, I'll give her slack for that, just because so we've only we're YA, you're young, you've only experienced this like not many times, and this is fresh in your brain type of thing. So I was like, I'll give her grace for this, but also, there's no moment just for Jem to.
And then
Jem
even after
the best, man.
Yeah, but then
and it
even
feels
after
like
the
Tessa
fact,
just can't give him that.
Because after the fact, like comparing her reaction to her moment with Will versus her moment with Jem, she's got this like horror and confusion, but it comes from Jem himself, not actually, and that she actually did those things with him. Whereas with Will, it's more about his attitude after the fact, not about actually kissing him.
I did not pick up on that.
I did.
Me neither. Ugh.
She's kind of like, she's like, how could I kiss Jem? He's like so sweet. He's my friend, blah, blah, blah. Whereas her problem with Will is Will's attitude.
Yeah. Tessa's like been trying to friend zone Jem this whole time.
It's not going
like,
well.
It's not going
obviously
well.
it's not going it's not going well.
It's
yeah.
It's a lot. It's frustrating because I think, like, obviously given this takes this takes place back in the Victorian era, so obviously there's that. This book was also written in like what, 2012-ish question mark.
I'll look.
So like I can see this working out in like a polyamory situation, or if like all of them were together in a throuple, but just like knowing that because of when the book was written and when the book takes place, that's probably not going to happen. Like, Tessa just can't give her all to Jem in the same way that she's able to consistently give her all to Will.
Text copyright is 2011.
Yeah, so I was mostly right.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of this back and forth until the final.
I will say that this is a pretty good love triangle. Like, sometimes we have love triangles that are not satisfying or is very, like, the thing is, to us, we were like, it's pretty obvious, but there's still enough that I think the triangle like still works as a triangle. I think this is a better
love triangle than Jace, Clary, and Simon.
I agree with that.
Yeah, like,
we can get into that when we get to that, but it's very much so more even, if you will, of like everybody. I guess the girl in the situation has feelings for both of them, whereas I don't
ever think Clary felt for Simon in the same way. I don't think that Tessa feels for Jem as much as she feels for Will, but I think that she feels more.
There is feelings there.
Right. Mm-hmm. In absence of Will, that is a relationship that could build and happen. But Will's right there, so.
Well, and then, of course, there is a relationship between Will and Jem that is really strong, too.
It's a different love triangle, but I think it's just better overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, we're in it now. We're in the actual triangle.
We in it.
Thing happening.
We
were waiting for it all of Clockwork Angel. We were like, where is the gem content?
Right. We get more family drama and explanation with the Lightwoods. And this whole beef does not make sense to me. And I'll kind of tell you why. So we have the whole, Silas was in love with his parabatai, which they never, unless they state it later, they don't say what gender Silas's parabatai was. So I'm going to assume that it was a man, which adds more shame, at the time to falling in love with them, because I don't think it was super common. I don't think we've heard of any male-female parabatai pairings yet. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I can't recall.
Yeah, I don't think so. So while I didn't think a lot about it when you're explaining it, I think I was kind of under a similar maybe assumption because we didn't get the full details either.
Right. So, the uncle Lightwood, Silas, broke the law, right? And so Charlotte's father reported him. The Lightwoods are mad that the law was prioritized over the friendship and loyalty, but isn't that the whole thing with Shadowhunters? The law is hard, but it is the law. They're always told to put their emotions aside.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that the whole point?
It is, but the thing about the Lightwoods in particular is that they have a lot of family pride as well. So it's so there's complication there where their family pride is coming at odds with their Shadowhunter pride, and ultimately Lightwoods consider themselves Lightwoods before they consider themselves Shadowhunters.
I mean, I guess that's a good thing, but I don't know. I guess it was just me thinking, the law is supposed to be the end all be all kind of thing.
And the Fairchilds are also known to be sticklers and very adherent to the very letter of the law.
It's very interesting to think about this in terms of later generations of these families.
It is. It's fun to think about.
Well, the other thing is, that's Gabriel's version of the story too.
That is true.
Because Charlotte later says
we hear her say that's not what happened, but we don't know more.
Yeah. She said a little bit of actually they were, my father and Silas were friends, and he mentioned that, in his suicide note he mentions he explains what happened or whatever, and does this sound like somebody who is mad at, has this beef? And then Jem's like, it does sound a little different than what Gabriel said.
We haven't really talked much about Charlotte and Henry because there hasn't been that much of them to talk about. But there's just little bits and pieces of, when they're talking with Ragnar Fell and he mentions there are men who love one woman and one woman only. Charlotte looks over at Henry, and I think that's a nice detail. Because Henry is, we all know how Henry is for Charlotte.
But I don't think Charlotte knows that yet. I think that we're seeing that happen.
I think it's more of maybe a subconscious thing for her.
Yeah, I think I read it as a moment of longing and wanting Henry to be that person. Is how I read it. Because I don't think they're there yet.
Okay.
I think that Charlotte has a lot of doubts about how Henry feels about her just because Henry is so hyper-focused on other things all the time.
But then later...
I, being similar to Henry in personality and things, I know that...
Everybody's got their own interpretation.
Right. It's I know that Henry loves and cares for Charlotte, but I think it's a love languages thing. I think they're not communicating.
It's also part of it is, we've read this series and we know where it goes.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
And then later, I don't remember what the context of this was, but I was like, we stand Henry believing in Charlotte, treating her like the queen she is. I don't remember what the context of that was, but it's just fun.
The context of that is just another Tuesday, because Charlotte is fantastic, and everyone should be feeling that way about Charlotte.
I'm really sad that we haven't been able to add to the Henry on fire counter.
We have not.
Henry, I thought Henry was a lot more flammable. We hear a lot about Henry being on fire in the past tense, as in having set himself
Honestly,
on fire.
I feel like it might just happen more towards the end, and it all happens a lot at once.
We might get more fire in the end for sure. I mean, we haven't encountered any clockwork things recently.
Because this is the beach episode.
Unless you count Mortmain, because it's said that John Shade's nickname for Mortmain was Clockwork Prince, and I was like, and roll credits.
And roll credits.
There it is.
And
so, unless you count Mortmain.
Well, speaking of rolling credits and name dropping, I think that's going to be it for this week, unless y'all have something to tack on to the end here.
One more thing I want to mention.
Okay.
Because it's me being my musical theater nerd. So, they're going to a masquerade. So, I'll just like insert Phantom Masquerade here. And Will's wearing a black half mask. So, I'm like, Will is cosplaying as a Phantom. That's literally all I want to say.
The Phantom, the
yeah, I'm like,
I just had to put in
like
my...
I said, Tessa had that note of like, oh yeah, that went very well last time. We're gonna do this again. And I was like, she's right though. We're gonna do the same
I had
thing.
to like, and you know, Jesse knows where Nate is. Things are going down.
Oh yes, Nate
things will go down
returns.
in the next.
Nate
I just had to mention the Phantom
relevance
because I was just like, this is where my mind went.
Of course.
Yeah. There's a lot. My notes are a little disorganized. I have some fun things in here. I wrote down that Henry loves eggs, like Henry heart eggs.
That's right.
He's like staring very longingly at the eggs. Yeah.
I got a lot of. I had a couple of things about Bridget's songs being very.
Oh my gosh!
It's like Girl Scout camp. We discussed that last
Bridget's
time.
songs being very specific to Tessa, and Tessa just being like, "Nope, I'm out."
Oh, I missed that one, but.
I remember that.
Yeah, some of my notes were funny. I just didn't organize them like super well. And I was like,
I got some.
Oh
fun
yeah, I wrote down
about
Will's like, does anyone want to know why I was on the bench? But, yeah.
Oh yeah.
When they're talking about
insert John Mulaney
what
here.
happened with
Yep.
What's her name?
Why?
With Tatiana. I could not remember her name. Tatiana Lightwood. And I'm like, and
Tatiana.
her being in love with Will. I'm like, well, who? Will?
Tatiana drama. We did learn about that drama a little bit from Gabriel too, being like, and then Will actually is the one who tells.
Will tells.
Yeah, we can get into that next time, but Will tells us, and then I was like, I wrote down it's time for tea, and he broke my arm, and yeah.
Will is a menace to society, and I love him.
Just like Cordelia.
Will is a menace to society. But Gabriel's also a menace. Like they're
the same.
They're the same, actually.
It's fine.
I am still a Jace.
Come to play later,
I'm still a Jace bias, but Will's getting to my heart.
Will.
We love to see it. We love to see it.
I'm sure it'll get more Jace when we get there.
Yeah.
Anyway. We started a little late, so.
Yeah, we did start a little late, and we're gonna wrap it up. I know that we have talked about trying to catch up a little bit, so we'll see what comes of that. So stay tuned.
Your eye on our Instagram.
Yep, watch the Instagram.
And we have links to our socials in the bio on Twitch.
Yep, and if you're catching this after it's been streamed on Twitch, then try and catch us next time when we stream Sundays, or usually every other Sunday. Again, we're doing some catch up, so it might be a little strange, but usually every other Sunday on Twitch at noon at
any updates
the Herondale Boy SG pod. So
yeah,
and we'll see you then.
We'll see y'all later for part 3.
Bye bye.
Bye.
See ya.